Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
All right, it's 5:30. I will call this June 16th meeting of the Board of Public Works to order. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I see no one in chambers and I have no slips of paper, so I think we can move on to the approval of the minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the June 2nd minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the June 2nd minutes.
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion? Everything looks good? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on, item number 4 on the agenda, report from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker. Take it away.
Thank you. To start, a couple project updates. The resurfacing projects are well underway. Both the 2025 street resurfacing project, that's our normal CIP project. Today we started asphalt removal within the senior center parking lot behind us, and paving is anticipated to start next week for that project. And then the 2025 ARPA street resurfacing project, that's within the Belmar neighborhood of the city. They started pre-milling the roads today, so we'll look to continue the asphalt removal on both of those projects with paving to start within the next week or two. And then next up is our Cyene Road reconstruction project. So that is under construction in 2 phases. Our phase 2, we're working on the utilities at the roundabout, which is going at the intersection of Nine Bark Drive and Central Park Place in Cyene Road. And then for our phase 3 portion of that project, the contractor is anticipating remobilizing on Friday of this week. We've been on hold for phase 3 until we resolve these subgrade stability issues underneath the roadway. So we have that resolved, and also one of the agenda items on tonight's agenda is the change order for the additional subgrade material needed for that project. And then lastly, our Fish Hatchery Road water main replacement project has been completed. So the water main replacement is complete with the asphalt along Fish Hatchery Road. That was for the water main break that we had in February of 2024. With that, does anyone have any questions?
I have one unrelated to anything you talked about tonight. The concrete pad that's fairly new at Chicory Meadows Park, what is that for? It looks like it might be bike parking, possibly a drinking fountain, who knows? What?
I do not know. I can look into it and provide an update at the next Board of Public Works meeting if that works.
Okay, sure.
Then I don't, yeah, it's at, I want to say bike pad or drinking fountain would make sense for that.
Maybe
so
both.
I can follow up next meeting.
Okay.
It is new because it's like right out my window, so I watched it. And they came and marked a bunch of utilities and did a bunch of stuff. So we thought maybe they were going to be doing some trenching or doing something, but that's all they did was put in that concrete pad. So
I was a little curious because
Yeah.
the tennis courts and the basketball court are going to be reconstructed in the near future. And I thought it was odd that we would put a concrete pad in there that might get damaged with all the equipment coming in and out.
Yeah, I guess I looked at the capital improvement plan, and I think that's been postponed, the tennis courts and the basketball court, but they are in really bad shape. People complain about them all the time.
Yes. All right, if there's nothing further. If there's nothing further, we can move on to the agenda items proper. And I will note for the public here that we are running at the bare minimum. We are a 5-person board, and Chairman Herbst is on vacation, as is board member Don Gutkowski. So we have 3 remaining members, which does form a quorum. All right, so agenda item 5A, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution R8425, acceptance of engineering services agreement for water supply service area plan.
I will move approval of resolution number R84-25.
I'll second it.
Okay, Tim, tell us what this is about.
This is the engineering service agreement for the water supply service area plan. So due to a recent update to the Great Lakes Compact, all public water systems serving a population of at least 10,000 are required to prepare a water supply service area plan. City of Fitchburg Water Utility is required to complete this plan by December 31st, 2025. We prepared a request for qualifications for general engineering services, which was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on January 22nd, 2024 and January 29th, 2024, as well as posted on questcdn.com. On February 5th, 2024, City received 10 proposals for these services. Through a quality-based selection process, Strand Associates was determined to be the most qualified consultant to prepare this water supply service area plan. There are funds available in the water utility's unrestricted net position that can be used on this one-time project of creating the mandated water supply service area plan. Therefore, we're looking for council to approve the agreement for the engineering services with Strand Associates Incorporated for $35,000 plus a 10% contingency of $3,500 for a total of $38,500. And then looking for council to authorize the clerk and mayor to sign the agreement. And then also having council amend the 2025 water utility budget to add the $38,500 to the water administrative and general expenses portion of the operating budget in water utilities to cover the engineering services for this plan. And then that would be funded by the unrestricted net position of the water utility.
Since this is a fairly new requirement, has anyone done one of these before, or was it pretty specific as to what was supposed to be the scope of work and included in this? Or
so the city's historically done a master plan for the utilities, and I believe the last master plan was late teens, like 2018 or early 2020, and that's typically done once the comp plan gets updated. So a lot of those components are also included here. There are some nuances that we didn't include in our normal master planning that are required as part of this. So it could be a lot more expensive if we didn't have that master planning historically that we've done.
is this something that's going to have to be done like on a yearly basis or every 2-3 years, or?
Yeah, I believe it will have to be updated. I'm not quite sure the frequency. I think it's 5+ years.
Okay. And I'm assuming it's more of a formality, and we're not really anticipating that they're going to find something that would make it ineligible, or?
Correct. With the master planning we have done, I wouldn't foresee any unexpected issues with our water supply service area plan.
Are there any economies of scale that could be realized by, coordinating a contractor with neighboring municipalities to do, Fitchburg's and Verona's and Middleton, something like that?
No, because it's unique. The utility systems of each community are unique as long as the growth demands. So what they may have to do for Verona wouldn't necessarily mean they have to do the same for us.
Okay, so there's not a lot of boilerplate. Most of it is specific to the municipality.
Correct.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I can call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R8425 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. Moving on to 5B, looking for a motion to approve Resolution R9825, approving an agreement between the City of Fitchburg and Dane County for Fish Hatchery Road repairs.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution R98-25.
I'll second it.
Okay, Tim, tell us what this one's about.
The concrete turn lanes on Fish Hatchery Road at the Lacey Road and East Sherrill Parkway intersections, along with a few spot areas on this roadway, need replacement. Per Wisconsin State Statute 83.0252, the county trunk system shall be marked and maintained by the county. However, the county is not responsible for the construction and maintenance of a city street on the county trunk highway system to a greater width than are those portions of such system outside the city and connecting with such streets. So the city entered into a 50-50 cost share agreement with Dane County for reconstruction of Fish Hatchery Road north of Brendan Avenue in 2019. The city needs to enter into a cost share agreement for their portion of the cost for the turn lane and spot repairs south of Brendan Avenue. This agreement for the repair work south of Brendan Avenue has the same cost share percentage as the 2019 agreement for the reconstruction of Fish Hatchery Road. There are funds available in the budget for this work. We're looking for council to approve the agreement with Dane County for Fish Hatchery Road repairs in the amount of $99,000, and that includes a 10% contingency. And that the county would be self-performing this work, and the city would be reimbursing them for the time and materials they spend on it.
Has this been discussed with the county, that sharing agreement of 50-50, and they're agreeable to that?
Yes, they are agreeable. The agreement they have reviewed, and then the agreement is now in front of us for review.
So I have a question on the one turn lane that was constructed when Fish Hatchery Road was built between East Sherrill and Lacey that goes nowhere. It is in really bad shape too. Is the future for planning indicate that it may ever serve something? Or because you don't have that addressed in here and it's in really bad shape? But nobody ever uses it. It's the joint between Fish Hatchery and that turn lane. And I'm just concerned that if we just continue to let it sit and deteriorate, that is going to get into Fish Hatchery Road.
Yeah, I believe that when Tracy and the county were going back and forth on this agreement, that portion ultimately was decided to not be included due to that no one uses it. However, we do have some contingency built into this project that if we did decide to do it when we're out there, that it could potentially be included if that contingency could cover that amount. But yeah, ultimately the county and the city, we decided not to include it just because it wasn't being used.
Is it ever going to be used? Or maybe we could just remove it? I mean, it looks sort of silly.
Yeah, that is something I can see if that was discussed and from a planning side is to see why it was put in and if there is any potential future use. So I can have that discussion with Tracy and Deanna from our planning.
Otherwise, I just didn't know if they could do like a saw cut right at that one joint and fix it so that it doesn't affect Fish Hatchery Road down the road.
But was it put in essentially for utility equipment to be turned in there or something? I don't understand it.
I suspect they were assuming that there would be development in there in the
Yes.
future.
But it didn't
And the new police facility is going to go in that general area, but there is no plan for an entrance there.
Yeah, I didn't look. I looked at the police plans, and there was no like anticipated turn there, entrance into the police facility. But I agree with you. I'm guessing at the time they built it, they assumed that there was going to be some development over there, and that's where they would tie in. The turn lane at East Sherrill, I believe, was extended a while ago, and the actual turn lane isn't really in that bad a shape, the left turn lane, but the intersection between them is really in bad shape. So I'm assuming since the county's doing the work, they're gonna look, and I'm sure Tracy went through with them and knows specifically what needs to be done and what's still in good shape. So. When is this scheduled for, Tim? This summer yet?
Yeah, this summer we'd look to complete this work.
I will note that I cross that intersection every time I come here.
The Lacey one or the East Sherrill?
On Sherrill.
Yeah.
I cross Fish Hatchery Road, and yeah, I don't feel good about doing that.
No,
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, the intersection itself is bad.
But if you look closely on page 34 of 285 in the agenda packet, on page 11 of 15,
Yep.
some of that is addressed. There's in the main lanes rather than just the turn lanes, there's a
Right.
big block there. So I'm assuming some of that's going to get taken care
So
of.
is it the light green? Is that what they're redoing?
Yeah, the light
Yes,
green
Okay, yeah, so
shaded
they're not
areas.
doing much of that turn lane. They're just doing pretty much at that intersection where it's really bad.
Right.
As far as Lacey Road goes, when are they ever going to make it sensible to have a right-hand turn down here? Because sometimes the traffic's backed way up to the library.
Instead of a through left?
Huh?
Instead of a through left or through right? You mean
Yeah.
a separate right turn?
Or just, the left lane could be straight and left rather than the right lane being straight and right. I don't know I presume those markings are on there based on traffic volume data.
Definitely backs up a lot there.
Yeah, right now we don't have any plans. I do know that has been brought up a couple times, but it would require a lot more improvements than just restriping it. There's not enough room, so there's curb and traffic signal relocation as part of that, stormwater.
It is in an area, though, with the police facility going right in there that is probably going to get more traffic. But it really wouldn't make much sense to make it a through left because the left turns have a lot longer delay. They have to wait for everybody coming across. Whereas on the other way, if it's the right, they can go, but the straight can go even, with the right. Whereas if there's cars coming straight across, if you made it straight and through and there was one person going left, you're just going to move your problem to the other side, and it'll back up there.
Well, eventually you would think that whole block would have to be widened out. The police are going to have room to get in and out of there.
I'm not sure if that's going to be their main ingress and egress or if it's going to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I think the Sally Port is on the southwest side there. So I think there will be a fair amount of traffic going in at that. On Research Park Drive, Tim, do you remember off the top of your head, is that public access only, or is that also for the staff?
I think that may be public access from Research. And then there's also, I believe, on-street parking on Research also.
Yeah, I guess in all the plans I've seen, I don't remember any road work to accompany it on Lacey.
Yeah, and you're right, on East Sherrill, it is a through left and a separate right turn lane. I suppose it's all based on what are the traffic turning movement counts, and I'm not sure
Right.
when is the last time those were counted to see, what's the most efficient way to get traffic through there, but that might be something we might want to consider after the police station opens and see what would best serve it.
Yeah, we can take a look because Lacey and Research is going to have to be pavement restored on that once the police facility. So at that time, if we are foreseeing issues, we could maybe incorporate some improvements for a right turn, a separate right turn there. Yeah. I would think that would be the time to do it.
And I'll point out that the city now has a subscription to streetlight data, which is basically kind of real-time traffic counts. What else? Does it give average speeds as well?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So it can tell what car, how many cars are passing a given spot, how fast they're going, which way they're turning. Does it also tell you, like, how many sudden decelerations there are?
I don't believe it does that,
No.
but speed and volume for sure.
Okay. I often wonder, you can look at the community map that shows all of the crash reports that were severe enough for the police to fill out a DT 4000. How many crashes are there where people are like, yeah, I don't want increased insurance premiums. Let's just pretend this never happened, and you'd be able to glean some of that if you had that kind of information.
Back in 1982, I got broadsided right down there and pushed right into the ditch. The guy that hit me got on an airplane and left the country the next morning.
Wow.
That was back in 1982 when it was single driving through there. Guy decided to pass at the intersection when I was turning, hit me.
All right, anything further on this? If not, I will go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of resolution R9825, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is again unanimous. All right, moving on to 5C. Looking for a motion to approve resolution R125 or...
Yeah, I will make a motion that we postpone the discussion on the capital improvement plan to our next Board of Public Works meeting, when hopefully we will have the full membership for the committee so that we can, have a good discussion on it.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? I think it's a good idea.
I guess just in terms of, Tim, is there anything in particular you want to point out that we should pay particular attention to, or nothing, just...
No, just that Monday night is the finances special meeting to go over the CIP, so that starts at 6 p.m. A week from today here in the council chambers.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you could watch Tim do his presentation, and then we'd be able to see it the following Monday.
I think there may be another Monday in between there.
Yeah, because our meeting is July 7th. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so our next
three
meeting will be
Mondays
3
in
weeks.
June, yeah.
3 weeks from today.
Okay. And then in terms of the information in the CIP, which is a very large document that the Board of Public Works should actually pay close attention to, is it anything labeled Public Works. Parks kind of falls under Public Works now. What should we pay attention to? What should we be ignoring or paying less attention to?
Yes, so in the document, which has been posted, I believe they posted it over a week ago, the adopted or the proposed mayor's CIP, and there is a bookmark with Public Works, so there is water, stormwater, streets, sewer, building and grounds, so definitely focus on those areas. And then also within the proposed sheets, it'll state if there were any changes. So I would just focus on the projects that have the changes. And that's kind of what the special meeting next week, Monday, goes over, is the projects that changed from last year to this year, and whether we shifted it later, updated the numbers, or moved the schedule to sooner.
Okay. All in favor of postponing Resolution R125 to the July 7th Board of Public Works meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Moving on to 5D. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution R10125, approving the purchase of a 2025 40-foot bucket truck.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution R101-25.
I'll second it.
All right. Tim, walk us through this one.
Streets has scheduled the replacement of a 1999 GMC bucket truck. Public Works collected bids from 3 vendors. Utility Sales and Service supplied the lowest price bid of $152,597. Public Works has sufficient funds in the vehicle replacement fund to purchase this new bucket truck. Looking for council to approve the purchase of the Versalt SS T37 bucket truck from Utility Sales and Service in the amount of $152,597. And then looking for council to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Utility Sales and Service, and then also have council authorize the city administrator to auction the 1997 GMC bucket truck at Wisconsin Surplus with a minimum bid of $5,000.
So I have a question. Of the 3 bids, there's different, the Versalift and the Altec, but that's the Ford F450, and the other ones were the F550s, which I'm guessing is a little bit sturdier, bigger truck. Do you know what we currently have? Have they determined that a 450 will meet the requirements? I mean, it was only like less than $4,000 different between the first and the second bids. But if a 450 is, $4,000 is still $4,000. But I was just curious as to why they bid. It was 2 different trucks. What we currently had that we're replacing wasn't big enough.
Yeah, so the current truck's a GMC, so it's not a 450 or a 550. The Ford's is what was submitted as bids, and yeah, a 550 we don't need.
Okay.
So to save them or to even spend $4,000 for something we really don't need wasn't
necessary.
Correct.
26 years is a pretty good run. Tell us about the usage pattern. Like how many total miles does this thing have on it right now?
So the GMC, the 1999, was a good run. It has about 47,000 miles on it, and we probably use it weekly. It'll be used for anything from the street light repairs to the snowflakes that go up in winter on our light poles, and trimming of trees. We'll use it a couple times a week, depending on kind of workload with those items. And not only does streets use it, but our parks may use it, our utilities may use it, and then also our building maintenance team may use it if we need to bring it out here. The nice thing about the new truck is an automatic. The existing one is manual, so not everyone can use it. Now everyone will be able to drive it. And then also it's a little safer to get in and out of the bucket truck, where the one we currently has is a little outdated and antiquated, that it's a little, I'm not going to say unsafe, just more difficult to get in and out for people. And then also, one of the main reasons we're getting rid of it is we're starting to have a lot of issues with it. Like this past year, when we were putting up the snowflakes or taking them down, we had an issue with a hydraulic leak, so we couldn't complete the snowflake taking down until that was fixed. And then also we had the fuel tank was leaking, and we couldn't, they don't make the parts anymore for the vehicles, so we had to just repair the fuel tank and not purchase a new part for it. So with the issues we were having and the parts becoming harder to find, it was a good 26-year run.
One other thing I noticed in the bids, Alltech Industries, on some of the options, the numbers were strange, like $730,000 for a hitch and trailer light plug. Any idea what was going on there?
What sheet were you specifically looking at?
This is on page 17 of 18.
Okay.
The rightmost column. So option number 8, they're showing $730,000. Option 12, $150,000.
Yeah, that may be.
That's not even a decimal place issue.
No,
the other guy's got 1,600.
Not quite sure what's going on there. If they're maybe missing a decimal and the cents, it'd be $1,500.04, but that's a weird. I'm not sure. I guess because we weren't going with them, that we didn't really look too close into that.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering if their top level number was accurate. It's certainly within the expected range, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything further? All right, I will go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R10125, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. Moving on to 5E, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution R10425, accepting the 2024 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for the wastewater collection system for the city of Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
I will move approval of Resolution R104-25.
I'll second it.
All right, Tim.
It's a requirement under the Wisconsin Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit issued by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources to file a compliance maintenance annual report, also known as CMAR, for its wastewater collection system under the Wisconsin Administrative Code NR 208. It is necessary to acknowledge that the governing body has reviewed the CMAR. It is necessary to provide recommendations or an action response plan for all individual CMAR section grades of C or less and or an overall grade point average less than 3.0. City of Fitchburg's collection system received a grade of A for financial, a grade of A for collection, and an overall GPA of 4. We're looking for council to approve the CMAR for the wastewater collection system.
Discussion?
I have one question on page 62 of 285 or 3 of 13. So you go through the beginning balance and then your adjustments was what you had spent. Is that unusual that it's the exact same number and so your adjusted beginning balance is 0? I mean, how could you spend exactly what you had? And then you're adding 21,000 and you're guessing that you're going to have the 1691 as a expense or whatever. I was just curious. When I first looked at it, I thought beginning balance, and then there was no adjustments, and then I was confused. But I see now your beginning balance and the adjustments makes your new beginning balance be zero.
Correct.
So is it like things you have budgeted and it came out exactly to what you needed it to be?
Yes, pretty close.
Okay. My only other thought was the electricity consumed November seemed to be high in terms of the electricity. Was there something particular going on in November? I'm on page
413.
63.
4 of 13. Yeah, 63.
Yeah, November was the highest month.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall if the weather was, I don't recall that much more cold.
But then all of a sudden, like the gas dropped way down starting in May. You know, so that must be heating because you don't really heat from May till November. So that's, I thought maybe by looking at this, the gas one would be related to the heating and not the electric. But I was just curious if something kicked in or...
Yeah, so the natural gas is used for the generator at the lift station, and typically we use the generator once a month just for testing purposes to make sure it's working. Where you do see the big bumps in natural gas is maybe the generator did have to run because it was, we lost power or something for.
Okay.
And there may also be a heater too within the generator room that may come off natural gas. But yeah, as far as the spike
seasonal
for the electricity in November, I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Thanksgiving, a lot of extra flushes.
Yeah, everybody had their relatives over, right? Otherwise, I thought it looked very good. I thought it was, obviously the system is running well.
Tim, there was one line item in there. It said we only televise 7.8% rather than the 10% goal. Is that anything to worry about?
No, that's just more of a reflection that our staff was busy with other things in the utility system. I know last year we had a lot of water main breaks, and we started our unidirectional flushing, which turns on and off valves, and a lot of our valves broke, so we had to replace. So that kind of took our resources away from televising. I think once we get past those kind of weak points in the water system, it'll allow more time for our utility crew to be able to televise. So we should be seeing closer to that 10% next couple of years.
It didn't seem to affect our grade at all.
No, because for the most part, we still meet our goals, and that's just a goal we set forth for ourselves. As far as the CMAR, that's kind of above and beyond.
Okay. I had a question on the Badger Lane lift station. We've got replacement funds that we're setting aside for that. Does that mean that at some point Fitchburg is going to take ownership of that?
Not ownership, just I know there's some improvements coming within the next year or two for that. So that therefore you did see a big bump I believe in the CIP to include Tracy's been coordinating with the city of Madison with those improvements. We're not going to be taking ownership, but we do have a financial stake in any improvements. So the improvements they're making, we need to pay, whatever the agreement, which I think is 50-50. So half the cost.
So that lift station serves both Fitchburg and Madison?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the replacement fund, so whatever the replacement funds were, we should expect the improvements to be roughly twice that much.
Correct. But City of Madison would be coming up with the other
Right.
half.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I can call the vote. All in favor of resolution R10425, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is again unanimous. All right, so we are going to, do we need a motion to postpone this, or are we just saying it's postponed?
A motion to postpone.
Go ahead.
I will make a motion to postpone Resolution R10625, the approving the agreement for the subdivision improvements in the plat of 7th Edition to 9 Springs.
I second that.
Do we have a specific date in mind, Tim, or are we just waiting for?
It would be postponed to a date uncertain,
Okay.
and the reason for the postponement was the developer didn't get us back the subdivision improvement agreement, so I didn't want to set this for the next meeting in case they're still didn't get us the agreement, so we'll just make sure if they get us the agreement between now and the next meeting to include it on the agenda.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of postponing our resolution R10625 to date uncertain, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is again unanimous. All right, similarly with item 5G, I'm looking for a motion to postpone resolution R10725, the agreement for subdivision improvements in the Uptown Hills CSM.
I will make a motion to postpone Resolution R107-25 to a later date when we get the agreement.
I'll second that.
All right, any other discussion here? Okay, all in favor of postponing resolution R10725, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. All right, now I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution R10825, purchase of pedestrian lights for phase 2 in the plat of 4th edition to Terra Vesta.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution R108-25.
I'll second that.
Tim.
Thank you. Pedestrian scale lights are required per city ordinance in the T4 and T5 districts of Smart Code. The plat of 4th edition to Terra Vesta is located in a T4 district and requires pedestrian scale lighting. The city's specified pedestrian scale lights are sold direct by the manufacturer, Stresscrete Incorporated, to the city. The agreement for subdivision improvements in the plat of 4th edition to Terra Vesta requires the city to purchase the pedestrian scale lights for this plat and the subdivider to reimburse the city for these lights within 30 days of invoice. Looking for council to approve the purchase of pedestrian lights for Phase 2 and plat of 4th edition to Terra Vesta from Stresscrete Incorporated for $62,628.
Discussion?
Didn't we just do one of these fairly recently?
Yes, we did it for Phase 1 of 4th edition.
Okay.
And then there will also be a 5th phase. And then that would complete the Terra Vesta neighborhood. And kind of the plan was to finish this development with the same light style for operating and maintenance purposes, as well as function of the appearance and consistency throughout the neighborhood.
Do you know if the pricing on these is the same as the ones we did fairly recently?
I believe that it is. They do put a little asterisk that even though the invoice, and I think it's on page 82 under the terms and conditions of sale, that there's two asterisks. It says, due to the fluctuations in the ongoing tariff situation, all quotes are subject to change without notice. Please verify your quote prior to ordering. So that may be something when we go to order these, it may increase a little bit, but that increase would be paid by the subdivider.
Is there any efficiencies if we know we're going to be doing it for the 5th edition to buying them all at the same time? I mean, you could discuss that with the developer to see if, because it's more money up front for
Correct.
him, but if the cost is going to be less if these tariffs do come in, it might be something he might consider.
Yeah, that's something we can look at.
Tim, did we discuss this at council and kick it back because of concerns over dark sky compliance, and whatever happened to that?
So it was, I believe, it was maybe September or October 2024, and it got postponed at council to look at that while we do our dark sky compliance ordinance. And then we had the ordinance approved, and one of the exemptions in the ordinance was right-of-way lighting. Not all right-of-way lighting can be dark sky compliant just due for safety reasons. And then when we had brought this back to council after the dark sky was approved for phase 1 of 4th edition, that was approved. And with these lights, they're LED lights, and they point down to the ground. And then why they can't be dark sky compliant is because it's a globe fixture. So the light bounces off the globe fixture. So they are pointing down, and there is a plate too on the house, the resident side of that, between the lights and the globe, and we haven't gotten any complaints with lighting that I'm aware of. And then where they're close to the intersection, the shield is removed, so it is 360 just because it's an intersection, and we need that full lighting there. So yeah, these are not dark sky compliant, but it was approved after the ordinance was put into place.
And I'll also mention that you can look at this either in person or on Google Street View, that the lights have an opaque top. So there's not light streaming straight up. But yeah, it is a globe fixture, like he said.
And I can pull up the Google kind of so you guys can see what it looks like. So here's the globe.
You can zoom in on that too. There you go.
The globe, and then these are the pedestrian lights along in the terrace. And as you can see, it's kind of already throughout the neighborhood. So with this being the second to last phase, just to kind of keep that consistency and appearance, and then also from our operations and maintenance standpoint.
Did Ben Schulte have any comments on this?
Ben did look at the lights, and as far as when we were going through the dark sky compliant ordinance, and didn't have any issues.
So some of those lights were on a section of street that had no development next to it. Now right there, I don't see a shield.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see if we could see the shield.
I was wondering, so anytime, if there is a section along an undeveloped area, if that gets developed, then a shield would be installed?
Correct. So there'd be a shield, and I don't know if it's just because of the angle and not being able to see it through the globe from street view, but there would be a shield between the resident and the fixture, or the lights inside the fixture.
So that shield is mounted inside the fixture, you're saying?
Correct. Let's see if we can see.
Looks like some kind of an axial fixture in there. Is there just like it's cylindrical? Is there just...
Yeah, I'm not even really seeing I think it's just difficult to see from street view through the globe, because I'm not really even seeing the bulbs in there.
So that vertical column we're seeing is not where the lights are mounted, the LEDs?
I don't believe so. I thought they hung down is what...
They're on the top, maybe
Right, in
pointing
the...
down.
Like kind of hanging from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So that's maybe just support?
Support or a conduit for
Yeah.
wiring. I think it's just difficult to see.
Yeah. Well, board members can feel free to give themselves a little tour after dark sometime. Okay. Anything further? I will call the vote. All in favor of resolution R10825 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Moving on to 5I. Looking for a motion to approve resolution R11125, approving change order number 1 for Scion Road reconstruction phase 3.
I will make a motion to approve resolution R111-25.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Tim, you mentioned earlier that Scion Road phase 3 has a little hiccup in it, and this is what we're talking about, right?
Yes. So as I mentioned or alluded to a little bit earlier, there was an unforeseen condition during construction for the Scion Road reconstruction of phase 3. So resolution R-07-25, City of Fitchburg approved the construction oversight and inspection of this project to Wisconsin Department of Transportation and accepted the award of the construction project to Rock Road Companies Incorporated. During construction, the contractor encountered an unforeseen condition with the existing soils through the marsh area where the new roadway will be constructed. To stabilize the subgrade for the new roadway, we're looking to install select crush material, which will help strengthen the subgrade for the road. The labor, equipment, and material costs for the work is approximately $210,000, which is available in the project budget. So we're looking for council to approve change order number 1 for the Scion Road reconstruction phase 3 in the amount of $210,000.
Questions from the board?
No, I read through it, and I guess it makes sense. I see they've eliminated the cost and then added it back in at a higher price because of all the maneuvering around and the extra labor and work that they had to do.
Yes, and with the geogrid, they were putting it in between the rock too, so there was some additional labor required for that.
I checked; it wasn't significant. It was like 1638 to 1715 or something. It wasn't like they doubled it or anything.
Right. Tim, can you explain at a high level what's going on here? Like, how did this not get noticed, and how are we alleviating the problem?
Not that it didn't get noticed. It's when you go into a project whether you're dealing with the soils, excavating, building a road, sidewalk, you typically take soil borings, every so often. So, if you take the soil borings every 100, 200 feet in between those intervals, you can still have different soil types. And that's kind of what happened here. We did have borings in the area, kind of what we encountered on the site. And let me just pull up one of the documents. They kind of explained what was happening. So basically, during the initial roadway subgrade preparation operations in October 2025, breaker run was installed as backfill for common excavation and areas per the plan. The proof rolls performed on top of the breaker run failed, indicating failing yielding subgrade. So the road was moving as we were proof rolling it to make sure it had compaction. So basically, we agreed to stabilize the soil with this select crush material. So Wisconsin Department of Transportation had their geotechnical engineers out there, and then we also hired a third-party geotechnical engineer to come out and take a look and to see what we can do for this. So we also looked into potentially dewatering, but that would have been even more costly and timely than just having this rock. So really what it would alleviate was when they proof roll, the high groundwater levels of the surrounding marsh and saturated, it was a quicksand material beneath the existing roadway that we kind of saw. So it was hard for the contractor to stabilize the subgrade to then build the road on top of it.
And so the remediation, we've got what, like 3-inch stone going in there, and how thick a layer are we putting in?
So, well, and that the layer varies depending on, we went out and took some test pits, which we also included in here, the document. Let me just pull it up. So at all these locations, these 10 additional locations, we had the contractor go out when we had the geotechnical engineers and actually dig down so we can kind of estimate how much additional rock would be needed in each of these areas. Then we kind of interpolated it in between. So I believe it varies anywhere from 3 to 9 feet we could potentially be putting. It's about 20,000 tons of additional rock, so that this road would have the necessary strength in the subgrade for it.
Excuse me, Tim, but do we have a wide area that we're not covering that's getting that sinking area in there too?
Now, we believe we correctly captured all the areas with that quicksand, and it mainly was happening down in this area of the project. Further south was where we saw more stability, but the further...
That might show it a little clearer.
Yeah. So
what
here's
they're doing,
kind of...
yeah.
Like here's the marsh area we had the issue with.
So it's that green area there.
Yeah, the green area, and then the purple was the next. But the blue was pretty close to what?
And the yellow too, I think, that you're still using common excavation for the blue and the yellow.
Yeah, so the blue and yellow areas was more closely to what was designed.
It was quite a surprise, I imagine, when they ran into that.
Yes. The contractor began noticing it installing a culvert. They were able to install the culvert successfully, but then once they started excavating for the road is kind of when the issues started happening. So that the kind of what am I trying to say is the city also in the CIP has the segment from basically here where my cursor is north. We're proposing a CIP project. So with kind of what we're dealing with right here, we're now more versed on how to properly design that before going out to bid, given what we're seeing now. So we'll be able to take some additional borings all to the north there and make sure our design engineer has the proper information.
That project going to the north is just resurfacing, right? Or is it full reconstruction?
It's full reconstruction, but also there's a potentially either boardwalk or bike lane associated with that, and that's dependent on a grant to help fund that. So, and we would look to kind of time that project with the improvements the city of Madison is making to Perry Street.
Okay. And that would be on pilings, probably like the Lower Yahara River?
Could be. It could be a boardwalk. We could do it as part of the path which given what we're seeing with this
idea.
project, that would probably be the cheaper alternative.
Yeah. And then, so the cost here, $210,000, it says there are funds available. Is that part of our contingency for this project then, or how is that being funded?
So for the Sain Road Phase 2 and 3 project, for 2025, this current budget year, as part of that CIP process, we rebudgeted the project, and bids came in lower than what we had anticipated, along with our engineering, opinion of probable construction costs. So because bids were lower, we have contingency and additional funds to pay for it.
All right, special treat.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very
No, it
often.
doesn't.
Anything further on this? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R11125, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Moving on to item 5J. I'm looking for a motion to postpone Resolution R11225, approving Amendment Number 1 to the Agreement for Engineering Services with KL Engineering for construction-related services for Jamestown Quarry.
I recuse myself, so I'm not going to make the motion on
Okay.
this one.
Dave, can I have you move this?
I so move we postpone resolution R112-25.
All right, I will second that motion. And as Kim just mentioned, she is the K of KL Engineering, so she is not to discuss any portion of this, and that leaves us with only 2 members of the board, which is not a quorum, so we must postpone. Do we have enough people here to postpone? We only have 2 voting members if you recuse yourself. Quick, read through Robert's rules.
Well, you don't have a quorum, so you can't vote on it, I think, one way or the other. So.
Yeah.
Right. So postpone to the July 7th, 2025 meeting.
Okay, postponing to July 7th due to lack of quorum. Okay, moving on. Item 5K has been removed from our agenda, leaving us with 5L. I'm looking for a motion to approve Ordinance 2025-0-10, amending Article 10, floodplain overlay zoning of Chapter 22 zoning ordinance.
I will move approval of Ordinance 2025-0-10.
I'll second that.
Okay. Tim, this is like 150 some pages. What's going on here?
This is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA, has updated the flood insurance study for Dane County, and that new study must be adopted into the city's floodplain ordinance. The floodplain ordinance text must be updated and approved by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources no later than July 28th, 2025. the city's planning department has worked closely with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources to ensure that the proposed ordinance conforms to the DNR's current standard model ordinance. The company documents include the existing floodplain ordinance, a red line ordinance with the proposed changes, and the proposed ordinance with the accepted changes. So most of the changes were just wordsmithing. The floodplain storage district map for Fitchburg was updated. When the planning department looked at it closely to the previous map, it was hard for them to even see any change to ours. It might have been a small change with the boundary of the storage district, but there was one map included in the 150 pages that shows the two storage areas within the city, and that one of them being Lake Barney, and then the other was a little to the northeast of Lake Barney.
Page 166.
Correct. So here's the Lake Barney storage area, and then the area to the northeast. So those were the two areas that fall within the city. However, when planning kind of compared it to the previous map, they didn't notice any change. I think what may have changed was maybe a small change in the boundary of that storage area, and it might have been hard to visually see.
So the official storage area for Lake Barney is smaller than Lake Barney?
For floodplain, yes.
Okay. So you said planning department was involved here. Is that also our stormwater engineer, Ben Schulte?
Ben and Public Works, Tracy and myself reviewed kind of the changes that Deanna had worked with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources with. So we reviewed it and provided comments throughout the process too. So I believe the letter originally went to the mayor, and per ordinance, the planning department kind of oversees the floodplain.
Any further discussion? No. Okay, I guess we are relying on the expertise of our city staff. All in favor of ordinance 2025-0-10, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. All right, moving on. Agenda item 6A, review of utility P-card and check purchases. Any questions on those?
I don't.
Tim, is there anything in here that you wanted to highlight? Anything unusual or happy or sad?
No, nothing unusual. You know, our standard chemical. This is our utility, so you'll see the water, chemicals, uniforms, also stormwater's included in here, but nothing out of the ordinary.
No, there's well number 12 now. Is that the final amount of money being spent on that, or we still got more coming?
The well 12?
Yeah, 28,000 is check number 128760.
And was that for a strand?
Municipal well and pump, it says well number 12 drilling. 28,000.
Well drilling. Municipal well and pump.
Right.
Well number 12 drilling, it says.
Yeah, I believe that was the final payment. That might have been the retainage being paid back to them. And I can look at that. So that was pay request number 5. And it looks like there is still some retainage left. So that would be still left to be paid.
You got any follow-up on that, Dave?
Yeah, I see it here.
Okay. Do you have any follow-up discussion?
No.
Okay.
What about the leak detection, when they got specific addresses in there, 825, they're all the same? What do they do there, Tim?
Sometimes we'll call in a leak detection if we can't find the leak and it's hard, so they'll come out with some equipment to help zero in on where it is, so we're not open cutting a road in 7 or 8 spots.
I was just curious because they had specific addresses.
Yeah, that's kind of just the location of the leak. So we had a leak on Aztec, Persimmons, South Fish Hatchery, Triverton, and Pike McKee leak.
Okay.
So for the $825, it's well
They'll
worth it
pinpoint,
than
yes, yeah.
open cutting a roadway and having to repair and restore.
They use divining rods, I presume? Okay, if there's nothing further, we can move on to agenda item 7A, announcements here. Next Board of Public Works meeting will be Monday, July 7th, council chambers at 5:30 p.m. And I guess just a reminder, study up on the CIP. I encourage you to come to the June 23rd finance meeting. That's 1 week from today. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 We are adjourned at 6:42 p.m.